So the mind causes, yes, now I cannot, yes. I have to mute everyone. So, in medical science, we use the word nervous breakdown. But we already have a nervous breakdown in our life when we perceive the things in our daily life differently. So there is only one big difference between the Eastern wisdom and the medical science. You feel upset, you are in the state of anxiety, and still you can attend the lesson to understand why it happens. So, but in nervous breakdown, medical science says that it is not possible for you to have a right perception. But even when the science does not claim it's a nervous breakdown, our perception is already deluded. We say deluded perception causes the problem. So we will understand today what is this. First thing to understand that the mind is a pervading force in the body. When the mind breaks down, body malfunctions. So that is what in science we say psychosomatic challenges. All the stress disorders are known as the psychosomatic disorders, but it must have some cause before it manifests as a stress, as anxiety, as duality, as a conflict in our life. If I don't have an object like any person as an object in my head, which I like or dislike. If I like, there is a sense of attachment. If I don't like, there is a sense of aversion against that person. And then it is supported by a lot of the thoughts at the emotional and the mental level. And ultimately, when it reaches to the peak, it causes the emotional breakdown. But what our masters are saying, that if I create a label to myself, I'm a husband, and I follow or I think, speak and act with that label, which carries lot of impressions, and if I communicate or think, speak and act out of that label, I'm already living in a delusion. I'm already living in an emotional, so-called nervous or the emotional breakdown. So the masters always focus on there must be a right perception. When I got married, for example, yesterday, just an example, before that, was there a husband in me? No. Was there a wife in that girl? No. Now use the same. How many times we use these labels? Label as a teacher or a student and a father and a mother, brother and a sister, or including the president is also a label. So when the mind constantly and continuously uses these labels in order to perceive the things in the world outside, I'm already into the state of a nervous breakdown. We may reach to the state of breaking down any moment. Again, we have to understand little bit more. We see that the mind pervades the entire body like electricity through a circuit. So that circuit is made up of invisible wires, nerves. So even something touches you feel some sensation in big toe, it is because of the mind. You feel some sensation on the head, it is because of the mind through that circuit. When the mind malfunctions, whole system is affected. And we say the deluded perception is already a malfunctioning. Deluded perception is already a malfunctioning, and that causes emotional, mental, and other challenges. For example, look at it, anyone, is asked to just go to the dais and speak for 5 minutes. Mind listens to it. It passes on the information through the circuit into the whole body, and now you have a physical symptoms, trembling, weakness, or a sense of trembling of your feet, or a sense of weakness. At the mental level, science says it is a confusion, inability to think clearly when you are asked to speak from the dais, but while sitting in the audience, you are very much clear. Same thing at the emotional level, overwhelming emotion, attachment, pain, loss of connection with the higher principles. So we are not at all aware of ourselves that we are different and separate from the label. So we have an emotional breakdown. Mind is cooking the story with these labels. Even your near and the dear ones are not aware of it. It is cooking the story in the mind, he or she is not listening to me, this is too much, what should I do? So there is a constant running of the thoughts, either due to attachment or aversion against a person who is living near to me and who is dear to me. And then one day it reaches to a level, and then we come out and we react. So when we constantly react, it becomes our habit. It becomes our attitude. So that habit and attitude further adds the deluded perception in our life. The mind amplifies that. So even what modern science says is a normal state of the human being to have an attachment, to have an aversion, to have a reaction, to blame and complain. We say no, it is not normal. Mind cannot have a right perception when it is already influenced by the thoughts of the blame, complaint, reaction, duality, and a conflict. Our face expression changes. What to say? It begins, but those are not considered abnormal in modern science unless we reach to a point where we are disturbing the socially adopted normal, so-called normal behavior. Until I speak out, until I fight with you, it is not considered abnormal. But everything is going on in the mind, and that is the deluded state. And we say the deluded perception causes the problem. It is because of the ignorance. But as long as I do not sit I do not reflect on my behavior. One is blaming is one thing, but I have to check that why and how this blame entered into the mind of the others. What makes the other person to blame me? Can I correct my behavior and attitude? Can I correct my response? So if I don't think over it, or I can start blaming. So if one is blaming, I am also blaming, I enter into the deluded. That is also considered a nervous breakdown in the Eastern wisdom. If we want to go a little deeper, we can understand the problem. The Buddha says the world is suffering. Why? Is the world outside your house, my house, you all, is suffering? No. Because the mind is deluded. It has a deluded perception, and that world is suffering. Or you can say, so what it means, how can you perceive, how can you understand when Buddha says the entire world that I perceive is suffering? So the master goes further and it says the mind as the world outside. The fundamental idea that our experience of the world is not an objective reality, but it is projected by our mind. I am what I think, I am what I experience. And I have given you that example again and again. I experience the water in the mirage. I experience the stillness of the earth. Do you see the delusion? My perception is clear. My experience seems to be clear. But earth is constantly moving. There is no water in the mirage. There is no blueness of the sky. Similarly, the person is a human being, not the husband and a wife, not the sibling, not my parents, with whom I have a grudge, or I blame, or I complain, or I react. But if I simply listen, it looks intellectually fascinating and you appreciate it. But if you do not contemplate and reflect in your own mind how your mind has created this world, it will not come to an end. So I challenge every perception wherever I experience a sense of anxiety, attachment, aversion, reaction, duality, conflict in my mind. Then I start becoming aware why I am blaming, why I am complaining, why I am reacting, what is that element which causes the delusion, and then I have a deluded perception, and that is what the Buddha says. Mind is the world, and the world is suffering. So what happens? My projected perception, my projected experience creates a false I. And that false I becomes my mind, coming from my mind is the world outside. They become one, and it causes constant suffering. Means what? Just ignorance plus projection plus delusion is equal to I am the mind. From the I am the mind is equal to I am the false I. When I am the false I am the world, And when I say, the entire world is crazy, nobody is taking care of me. Nobody is taking care of me. So you are a special being, whom everyone should care. That is already a state of nervous breakdown, but modern science says just wait for a little. You reach to the climax until you are not able to function so called normally at the social level, then we will put you into the category of a disease. Again, I am saying, without repeat listening and learning, without contemplation and reflection of my own attitude and behavior, it will not work at all. You can ask the medical doctor. He will explain you the symptoms of a disease and he will prescribe you the pills. But here it is, the very prescription is to change the perception of my mind by understanding, by knowledge, by practice. Even if, so there is a knowledge. Knowledge means awareness. Awareness means understanding. Understanding means no, earth always moves. But when I see it, I can still perceive it as stationary. That girl still is wife, but my perception, my understanding has changed. I have removed that projection. It is very important. I must remove that projection of my mind which caused the delusion. Then only I can become a seeker. So let us go a little deeper. Projection. What happens? What is projection? I project this pasta is a good food and it gives me pleasure or happiness. Why it is a projection? Happiness is not the property of pasta. That is why it is a projection. So now replace the pasta with your husband, wife, parent, father, mother, or a sibling, or a good friend. Person A is to blame for my problem. It is a projection. Why it is a projection? That person is not, the problem is not the property of that person. Not any person. So if the problem is the property of that person, then my mind says, I have to blame and complain and react. So when I start with the blame and complaint, I colored that person. That is what the projection is. So that projection is known as identification. At a subtler level, we by mistake identify ourselves with this mental construct. Problem is not the property of that person. My mind has created a mental construct. Or construct means imagination, feeling, awareness. Mental construct, this word created by our mind, that is what the Buddha says the world is suffering. Otherwise the world outside is so beautiful. But I see through my colored glasses. What are those colored glasses? They are projection. And then at the subtler level, it is identification. What is that identification? From where it starts? Eastern wisdom says it starts with the ignorance, to projection, to identification, to delusion, which is mind. Then I say I am the mind. Then I am say I am the false I. The false I says I am the world, and then the world is suffering. So it undergoes a step by step, and it reaches to a point of suffering. The one guy who is very near and dear to you lives in your house. You have a sense of reaction and blame and complaint. And I'm too far, no issue. Near and dear, ignorance, rejection, identification, delusion. I am the mind, I am the false I. Now the false I perceives the world outside, the world is suffering. So I'm already living into the state of nervous breakdown. We don't want to declare that. Why? We challenge that. I can prove how the other person is wrong. That is another level. We quote our perception with a very strong sense of attachment. Then what happens? Our life becomes hell. We don't want to leave it. Why we say, the world outside is hell. I am not the hell. But it is your false I, the creation of the false I. It continues. You have no chance to get rid of it. And then we have a certain abnormal behavior and attitude which you already know. The science has categorized them into more than 3,000 psychological mental disorders. You have an anxiety, even the anxiety has 20 different names. PTSD also comes into anxiety. Constant and consistent living into the anger which pervades into my whole body. Constant and consistent anxiety and the reaction which is responsible for many heart diseases. Couple of research papers establish that. So when Buddha says that this world outside is suffering, it is because I colored the world into a suffering, and that suffering process starts from my mind. The mind, what is the instrument mind does? Mind does the perception. So that if I perceive in ignorance, then it creates a projection. Projection because of identification. Identification leads to a delusion. Delusion leads to that, to believe that I am the mind. Understand clearly. When I say you are crazy, I am the mind. When I say you are to blame for my problem, I am the mind. And that I am the mind is the false I. False I, because mind cannot be I. Mind is an instrument. And when the mind says I am the false I, and false I perceives you are to blame for my suffering. You are to blame for my pain and problems. So you are the world outside, hence the world is suffering. I've been telling you that it all demands a constant and consistent and a committed self-inquiry. If we don't do the inquiry, nothing is going to happen. The life will remain as it is. I hope you will all think and contemplate. I'm not saying that you are not you're super intelligent, but also think like this. Remain super intelligent. But my master used to say that if you have a common sense, Eastern wisdom is based on a common sense. We don't need a higher level of IQ as it is required to get admitted into MIT or Harvard. Well, there is a big problem in the Harvard. Anyhow, close your eyes. Eyes are closed. And first is what? Place of the body. You see that we are becoming aware. No, I know the place where I'm sitting and still I want to be aware. Why? To remove the colors of projection and identification. You don't let any movement, any moment in meditation unnoticed. When you leave that unnoticed, it may result into delusion and perception. Deluded perception, which causes the world is suffering. So the place, position, and posture. You are aware, you feel, you experience. All comes into that. What I said, you perceive, you experience. You perceive, you have an experience, you are aware, all are okay. You are aware, you perceive, you experience what? Place. So it means you are not living unconsciously and habitually. Place, position, and posture. Now being comfortable. Again, think when I say, so to follow the practice, you perceive, you are aware, you experience, or I can add you know. You know without awareness, you cannot know. By habit, you can know by memory. So we are not bringing any memory of that sort. So we change the direction we experience in being comfortable. How do you know? How do you perceive? You look at the neck joint. You know, you are aware, you feel, you experience. That means the change of direction. Now, just for a while, reflect on it. The mind is overwhelmingly by force because of identification, creates a sense of attachment, claims the world is suffering, means that person is causing me the suffering. But now you are looking at the neck joint. Did you change the direction? It can only happen in awareness, not by habit. That is why I say being comfortable is a change of direction. You are aware, you experience the sensation, comfort, and steadiness. Reasoning, not rationalization. I am simply putting the reasoning, that is where the science is based on the reasoning. Reasoning means cause and effect. Look at, for example, look at the shoulder joints. Look means you look, you know, you feel, you are aware, you perceive. But how do you perceive? Because you experience the sensation, comfort and steadiness. So why you experience the sensation, comfort and steadiness? Because the mind has pervaded the shoulder joints, minus identification and projection. Now, mind experiences through identification and projection of any person outside. So the mind is outside mind. The direction of the mind is outside the world with a force of projection and identification and coloring. So you have a problem. So here we removed all that. You need not to remove. When you are conscious, when you know, you perceive in alertness and awareness, it is done. So the master says this subtler movement of the mind. When you switch on the light, you need not to collect the darkness into a bag and then throw it out. It is already gone. Why? That colored projection and identification do not stand your conscious thinking and self-awareness. Now, being aware of the entire body, if I say you know, you feel, you are aware of the entire body, from the top of the head to the toes. So I can also see you have changed the direction of the mind. The mind changed the direction. It is looking opposite to the world outside. Just make it clear. That is why what I say, you change the direction of the mind. Why we change the direction of the mind? Cause and effect. I am not saying that you believe you should follow this is what the cult and religion is. Even then, we are not progressing. Why? You have to ask the question. I know, I am aware, I feel, I experience with the whole body, minus projection and delusion. And then I experience sensation, comfort and steadiness. We did nothing and still we feel the sense of the calmness and the comfort. Can you see that? Nothing to imagine, just to see clearly. A right perception, the masters of the Eastern wisdom. One definition of mindfulness is right perception. Now, in that state of sensation, being comfortable, experiencing sensation, comfort, and steadiness, we already raised our level of awareness by being aware of the place, position, and posture, and being comfortable. And the experience of sensation, comfort, and steadiness. In that state, I look within. Means that I look at if any thought comes, feeling comes, sensation comes. That is the job of the mind. So means I'm aware of what is going on in my own mind. When I prove that, I'm aware of what is going in the mind of others, I'm already crazy. I'm already on the verge of nervous breakdown. But when I'm aware of what is going on in my mind, I can remove that color, projection, and identification. Do you see? So, what we understood today, I told you ignorance, leave aside for a moment. That is an advanced topic. And then we have what we say perception. And it is mixed with identification and the projection. You have understood that. Now you are looking into your mind, the thought with projection. Not possible. Why? I am not the thought. Identification, not possible. Why? I am not the thought. Thought occurs in the mind. Feeling, sensation are all experiences taking place in the mind. So I am different and separate from the mind? Answer is yes. So in a state of non-thinking, living impulsively and habitually, what is that? Living impulsively makes your mind know or think or experience through projection and identification what? That you are the source of my problem. You are the source of my problem or pleasure. You are the source of pleasure or pain. But when I recognize that these thoughts and feelings are separate from me, when I recognize these thoughts minus projection and identification helps me to live in a higher awareness, helps me to live in higher awareness, or you can say higher self-awareness is what is being carefree. So when we explore being carefree, we find there is a knower separate from the thoughts. And that knower is not the false I we discussed before the practice of meditation. It is not that meditation is different from what I discuss. So if you think and contemplate and reflect daily without fail, 100% chances that we are on a journey to find out, to discover the real self. So now, in that state, where is the state? Just we recap with our conscious experience. So the first experience is place, position and posture. Second point of experience is comfortable with experience of sensation, comfort, and steadiness. third point of experience is being carefree. Means the knower is free from projection and identification. You see, the knower is with, projection is falsi, like clouds. Clouds cover the sun. Sun is the real self. So here being carefree means that knower is separate. Sun is separate from the clouds. So when it is separate from the clouds, it is a perception, it is an awareness, it is an understanding, it is your experience. We don't have that experience, we are not carefree. But if we are carefree, we perceive, again I'm using different words, we understand, we perceive, we know, we experience, all thoughts are, no thought is me. When it is not me, the projection and identification drops. Mind is in the sense of relief. So in that sense of the relief, let us look at the breath. So the first point, let us look at the breath. What it means, look at the breath, you perceive the breath, you know the breath, you experience the breath. All are same words, perceive, experience the breath. So, say for example, you experience the breath. What do you experience? We experience the breath is going in and out. We also experience the flow of the breath. We also experience the breath goes in and comes out. And that gives an experience at the tip of the nose of the incoming breath and the outgoing breath. So what the master says here, keep watching, keep feeling, keep knowing, keep experiencing. Why? So that the mind can drop that projection and colored projection. But at the same time, we experience freshness and calmness. But if we live in a higher awareness by regular practice, when we're doing the regular practice, we live in a higher awareness. There is a less lack of thinking. If there is a lack of thinking, it is impulsive, it is projection coming from the accumulated past. So, okay. So when the breath goes in, feel the sensation. And at that moment, you simply drop on the track of the breath mental mantra Om Shanti. Om Shanti and the peace, and the peace is like the space. So every time you drop the mantra on the incoming and the outgoing breath, the moment your mind says Om Shanti, you enter into the infinite space. You get absorbed. You get absorbed into that infinite space. Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Bring your mind on the right hand, your mind on the left hand. Lift your Buddha palms, place it on your eyes. Open the eyes inside the palms. Know your experiences. Bring the hands down. We'll share our experiences. How are you, Charlie?
I'm good, Girish. Yeah, I've had a very deep meditation. I'm enjoying experiencing that I am from the rest of everything.
Beautiful. Yes. I am in the rest of the world. They too are different. You always see them as different, not in thought, but in awareness and experience. Then this world is not suffering, no projection. Beautifully, beautifully said. How are you, Anne?
Yeah, I feel fine.
Feel, yes, fine. You look in black and white.
No, brown. Oh, maybe black and beige.
Because of the camera adjustment. How are you, John?
Thank you, Girish. I'm fine. I'm trying to better understand higher awareness, and I realize that I've got some work to do on that.
Very good. You have to do the work while listening, while doing the practice. It is not a theory and the practice. They both go together. Am I aware of you? Yes. Am I separate from you? Yes. Simple, here and now. That is another difference between the Eastern wisdom and. So, how are you, Mead?
I'm feeling a kind of coming back, because the fear, I felt a lot of fear concerning the events of the outside world. And when I come back to this higher place, I get calmer. I get much calmer, and I can see that world is not my world, and I'm here in this one,
Yes.
in this calm and loving world that we're all in here.
We are going to enter into the same world after this session.
What?
We are going to enter into the same world after this session. And if I have that feeling, it is because of my projection. It has nothing to do with the world outside. But if I continue to keep that projection and colored perception of the world, there will always be the fear. Anyhow, how are you, Sophie?
I am good, Girish. I think that I disconnected. That I disconnected. disconnected. I could hear your voice, but I could feel my head going like that.
Yes, yes, yes.
But I feel good. Thank you.
Good, yeah. Oh, hey, I'm disconnected. What you were saying? What is that state of the mind? Think of it. Think of it. I didn't hear you. You have spoken very well. There was no noise. I miss you. What did you say? What is that state of the mind? Think of it. That is all for today. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Namaste.